everybody. Thanks for joining today. So the plan is to work through overlapping sets. You know, one of the things we don't do a ton of with overlapping sets is some of the 3 category set problems. But before we get to those, I think we can do some of the 2 category sets. I would say these are some of the best problems that you'll see as far as sets goes, the ones I'm going to show you. Now, overlapping sets is an interesting topic. Now, if you're using TTP, I'm sure you're well aware of, hey, we have the chart, use the chart. Now, I love the chart. The chart's necessary. I don't use circles usually when dealing with 2 category sets. The table is great. But the thing you got to try to do here is understand when you need to plug into these tables and when you don't. Sometimes you can just use the equation. If it's that straightforward where the equation works, you can use it. Another thing that I've changed up recently that I do a lot of, I don't use variables in the fraction-based problems. I'll try to plug in and use real numbers. These are something, and I've shown you guys this a lot in different webinars and ratios and percents and stuff like that. But again, you got to be very strategic with what you're subbing in, right? So anyway, these are just small things to think about. I want to do a couple 2 category overlapping sets, get into some 3 category overlapping sets, and show you that there's 2 different ways to deal with those. But to start, let's get into this problem here and put your answer in the chat box, and then we'll go from there. All right, let's see here. A lot of C answers, an E answer. Now, there is a trap at the end here that I think you got to be very, very careful about. I've seen this trap a lot hurt people. So, but my first question to you is, did you guys plug in real values for the total, or did you use a variable here? All right, if you're going to use a number, though, don't use 100. The reason I'm saying that is because this isn't a percent question where that's going to be a logical smart number, because 100 is just going to give you fractional values. 40 is the number, yes, because if you do 40, everything fits cleanly. Now, 40 comes from the LCM of 5, 8, and 2. That's why we're using 40. So when it says 2/5 are female, that's going to be 16, right? Or excuse me, not peanut female, but total female. So that's going to be 16, which means the number of males is, of course, 24. When we say that 1/8 of the passengers like peanuts, that's going to be 5 of the passengers like peanuts, which means 35 don't. Half of the passengers are males who don't like peanuts. That means male, no peanuts is 20. That's 15. That's 1. That's 4. Not that you have to fill all that in, but if it's easy, you can. And then we're saying the number of male passengers who like peanuts. So male peanuts, hold on one second. That's a 4. Made that look funny. The number of male passengers who like peanuts, which is 4, is what fraction, not of the total passengers. That's why some of you put 1/10. So you got to read carefully. Fraction of the total male passengers on the plane. Male passengers, of course, is 24. 4 over 24 is 1/6. So just be careful there, basically. That's a really nice question. There's other questions I like where they start to use algebra in the overlapping set. I see that a bunch, and I want to do one of those with you guys too. When setting this up, just be really careful about the language and what just like last question. We missed a few things because we weren't fully keyed in on the language that's being thrown about there. So take a look at this one here. I'll give you guys a few minutes. All right, do you guys feel like the algebra here is tough, or it's just kind of business as usual? You just got to make sure you're filling in the right boxes, so on and so forth. Well, I'll start working through it. But yeah, it sounds like you guys aren't having too many struggles here. So we've got the male guess, the female guess, the total guess. We've got gift. We've got no gift. And then we have the total. So male, female, total. So we have 300 total guests, right? 70% brought gifts. So that would be 70% of 300. That's going to be 280, right? Excuse me, 210. Then we've got 90 no gift people. Then we have 40% of the female guests brought gifts. So 40% of the female guests bringing gifts is, we don't know the number of females, and we know that 40% of them brought gifts. So that's 0.4F. That means 0.6F did not bring gifts, and then we have 48 males are no gifts. So what we can do is create an equation here, right? So we have 48 plus 0.6F is equal to 90. 0.6F is equal to 90 minus 48, which is going to give us, make sure that is correct there. 42, yes, that is correct. So then F is equal to 70. So we know that there's 70 females. Now, you got to be very careful because 70 is not the correct answer. Let me just look. Anyone put 70? No, nobody did. So the final step is how many females did bring gifts? You're doing that times 0.4 is 280. Excuse me, is 28, and that's your answer. So the good news is, like, these to me, no, it doesn't matter if it's on the top or the side. It'll be filled in just the same way. Let's see here. So now I want to talk about 3 circle overlapping sets. So let's start with all right, something like this here. All right, so there's two types of overlap, three-circle Venn diagram questions that we have in two kinds of Venn diagram questions that we'll have in the GMAT. Now, first one is if you can set up your circles and you start from the inner circle and you work your way back out of the circle, right? And the other one is this really nifty formula where you do total of one circle plus the other minus the double minus 2 times the triple plus the neither. They're used in different instances, and that's all you really need to know. The why, how, when, where isn't that important, but knowing when to use them is. Drawing out the circles happens when you're given pretty much all of the information to get the individual values in the circles. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces of information. That's a lot of information. And in that case, you're going to be able to do the method where you draw this out. Now, again, key is labeling the circles, then starting from the middle and working your way back. So we have guitar, and we'll just fill that in as we do it. That's 20 total, which includes the overlaps. We have drums, which is 22. No, the formula doesn't work here. This is where we have to fill this in. Thing equals 30. Then we go to the middle. 2 do all 3. 3 play drums and sing. That's 3 minus 2. So it's not really 3 total because you got to subtract out the middle. That becomes 1. 4 play drums and guitar. Well, that's really actually going to be 2. 5 play guitar and sing. Okay, that's not actually going to be 5, that's going to be 3. So notice we're doing all of this subtracting. Now, guitar only is 20 minus what you see in those middle circles. So it's 20 minus, that's going to be 2 plus 2 is 4 minus 7, which is 13. Drums only becomes 17, right? And then finally, sing only becomes 24. So now you can make this really nice equation where you have 72 is equal to 13 plus 17 plus 24. So that's the sum of the onlys. That's going to give us 30 plus 24. That's going to give us 54, right? Plus the sum of the doubles. So 2, 3, and 1. That's going to give us 6. Plus the triple, which is 2, plus the neither, if there is one, and there's not, right? So then from here, we end up getting that 54 plus 6 plus 2, that's going to give us 62, right? So 10 is equal to n. That's our answer. Any questions about that? All right, cool. Now, that's one method, and in fact, we'll just do one extra question for this. And this is one where, like, it's similar, but you're going to have to fill in different parts of the overlapping sets. Take a look at this here. Six and two. Let me see. No, you mean 62? This, oh, 6 and 2 here. Yeah, that's the sum of the doubles. So 2 plus 3 plus 1, and that's the triple. So basically, if we were to color code this with highlights, This is the sum of the onlys. This is the sum of the doubles. And then is there another highlight I can use? Let's see if this is light gray. This is the triple. And then you have the neither. I didn't draw out the neither circle. All right, try this here. All right, cool. So it looks like a lot of you guys got the right answer here. So again, it's very similar. We're basically drawing our circles. So let's say that trout is 16, bass is 18, salmon is 20. 6 like both trout and bass, and of these 3 also like salmon. So that's an interesting way to put it, but what that really means is it's 3 that like trout and bass only, because we're going to subtract the 3 from it. 10 like only bass, so we're going to put that inside. 8 people like only trout, so we're going to put that inside. And 41 at least like at least 1 of 3 fish, which means that there's no neither circle. So then we just start filling in, right? And you can kind of work backwards to figure out what these different circles need to be. And let me just make sure I put it in. Yeah, I did. So everything seems good here. So it's like, what does this have to be to make that 10? Well, it has to be 2, of course, right? And then what does this have to be to make trout only 8? Well, it's also got to be 2, right? And then by doing that, you can do salmon only. 2 plus 2 plus 7 is going to give you, 2 plus 2 plus 3 is going to give you 7. 20 minus 7 is going to give you 13. That's how we got that answer. So those are the ones where you're drawing them out. Okay, now I want to show you something where you don't have to. I'll let you guys handle this any way you want, and then I'll show you my method here. So take a look at this here. I'll give you guys a minute. All right, so did you guys have more trouble, less trouble with this? How'd this go for everybody? And did you notice that you don't actually have to deal with the with drawing these out? Yeah, the formula is great. And the reason you use the formula is count the number of data points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not 8 data points. So trying to do it the other way won't work. The other thing that's instrumental in these questions is when they're talking about the sum of exactly 2. That's going to be a tell that you're dealing with the formula type problem. So instead of writing it out, it's so simple. 120 is equal to 50 plus 70 plus 60 minus the double minus 2 times the triple, which we don't know the answer, plus the neither. Now, there is no neither here, so we just ignore it. So we say 120 is equal to 180 minus 30, and then 120 is equal to that, minus 2t is equal to minus 30, so t ends up being 15. And that's it. That's what you do. So you just got to get this memorized. If you're using TTP, it's easy to see it once you practice this enough. Yeah, so that's the deal. Any questions about this? No, the diagram's really not going to work here. Memorize the formula. We don't use a neither. 2t is, yeah, exactly. Don't draw it out. 2t is 2 times the triple overlap. Because remember, the triple overlap overlaps 3 times. If you subtract it out twice, then you're left with the true value of that. Any questions about that? Neither is added if there is one. In these types of problems, I never see a neither. So I think you can almost assume it's not going to be there. I would say, well, all overlapping sets, all topics get to the highest level of difficulty. So I wouldn't say there's one or the other. You know what I mean? I think they all get. There's no like max difficulty based on the topic, but it's personal, right? Like if you like overlapping sets, then something that's difficult for everyone else isn't going to be that difficult. The full formula is circle A plus circle B plus circle C minus the doubles minus 2 times the triple plus the neither. That's the formula. We teach it in our course too. All right, we can stop here. Any questions about anything from anybody? Talking study questions, TTP questions, so on and so forth. Anything you want to discuss? Yes, we did use another formula. There's 2 formulas in overlapping sets. So we do teach it pretty thoroughly in our course. Yeah, well, there's this, and then there's filling out the chart, basically, or the 3 circles. All right. Any questions from anybody about anything? Study-wise, your tests, GMAT focus, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think the current version's getting hard. I think people have been doing well on it. I think the GMAT focus has been a very manageable exam, and I don't think anything has changed with the classic. So yeah, I think everything is business as usual with this test. Yes, it does. So if you have like 8 data points, you're probably going to use this version. And if you have like, what was it, 5 data points plus some mention about the double overlap, whether you're solving for it or given it, then yes, that's how you're going to decide. Again, we break it down really nicely in our chapter too. Any other questions? Yeah, if that's your weakness, I was just talking to someone about this today. I would totally change it over. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's a huge part of verbal. So if you can just throw that away and just deal with CR and RC, I mean, it could be worth it. I don't think data interpretation is that crazy. I think it's learnable once you master quant and verbal. So yeah, it'd be worth taking a practice test to see where you're at for sure. I can't say I like the new format better than Classic. I'm just very happy with what students have been reporting back with regarding taking it. It doesn't, I thought there was potential for disaster and it's been just fine, you know? So yeah, I'm just happy that it wasn't like this crazy major change and students have still been doing really well on it. And we have a really killer DI section in TTP. We worked really hard on it. It's very thorough, so it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's possible you didn't see overlapping sets, but it doesn't mean it's not there. You know, there's a ton of topics tested. So just because you don't see something doesn't mean it's not there, right? These are all hiding in the grass, waiting for you to retake. So don't, it's definitely a part of the GMAT. And from one test to the next, you can see very different things, put it that way. Any other questions? All right, well, if that's it, oh, no, I don't think it would be hard to switch from OG to focus. The DI sections, if you've learned quant and verbal, like they're pretty easy. It's just a lot of practice. Coordinate geometry is still there, and I've heard that there's some basic geometry still there. So that's one thing we're trying to figure out. But definitely coordinate is there, but like tough geometry is not. They might have basic like area of a circle, stuff like that, but nothing crazy. All right, everybody, we will sign off. Thank you for coming. And if you need anything else, let me know. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Thanks again. Bye now.